support. It is getting a little bit better, I would say. But I still have some questions. In particular, category number 2 includes the use of the taser. Now, Dyer is doing an excellent job. He did about the use of tasers in custody. Supervisor Solis, I know that tasers in custody is an issue that came up during your campaign with Illinois and others. Illinois came to Studio City and actually spoke about how things were going in the jail on October 26th, and he was less rosy about it from the perspective of the deputies than obviously today as we're facing a new era. That said, I don't think that tasers should be used in jails. The reason why, Lisa Mandel and Sheila, is because if you bring a spark check over to a person who's non-compliant, it creates a kind of a threat of torture, like the Alabama Howdy Do from that movie, The Shape of Water. It's not our style. So I think the guys who are working on, and women, other alternatives is a better way to go. Now, I will also say that the county council, who appropriately stepped off here, are doing a terrible job of providing what I would describe as the records that the public is entitled to see. It's great that the Rosas monitors are excited and chipper, but those are your former lawyer, and and by the way, the dates on the reports are a little inaccurate. There was one in March of 2017, I thought. But I just think that we need to be able to see, for example, the mental health, to be very specific, training video that POST, that's an organization that helps law enforcement, has. Now, I've asked the county council in 2 different languages to please provide a copy of it so we can look at it. Now, if 98% of our deputies have trained on it, it's got to be shareable. I mean, it's not the secret code of how to deal with mentally, like the people in the river and Supervisor Solis' district. And finally, the custody division manual. This one has been a long-standing, we've been a little bit at loggerheads because it's delightful to see use of force policy, but what about the policies that affect people's health and welfare that may be a little lunky? And to not provide them, as requested under the California Public Record Act, is both a shortcoming of the law and also everybody expects it. So thank you.
Thank you.
George Mazzetti. Unlike any of you, including these cops, phony liars, you stupid people threw a guy like me into your medical psych ward in the jails where, in medical, a guy's dying of diabetic shock, and I save his life with a medical and sheriff's yelling at me to let him die. Do you hear me? When I'm in court, item 48 just before noon, they casually come up to the judge, this stupid Judge Longario, who declared me competent then incompetent, you stupid criminals. And what do I hear? Oh, we forgot to tell you about a death in the medical psych ward 2 months ago. The time before that, they bring up the problems in the jails you fools are talking about, and I take the laws to the sheriffs. And the one sheriff says the other, I told you about those steel-toed shoes in the jails. They've been illegal for years. Medical psych ward, you fools, put me in. One night at midnight, they decide to move us to the new rehab ones, right? It was 60 inmates with 26 chairs and tables. They move us to a new filthy one, so filthy you can't believe it. And there's 68 beds and 12 chairs. I'm in there, a guy declares himself suicidal. We try to talk him out of it. They take him out in front of everybody and chain him up for 5 hours. Well, he freaks out. They run their own fucking gangs in there. Why are you trying to prosecute me? You should be using me to stop this. I know more about that than these fucks do.
Thank you.
Now, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You going to listen to this garbage some more?
Yeah, she's going to.
And thank you for talking about the homeless people.
Welcome again.
I'm not so sure I appreciate the report in all this value. I have heard so many complaints off and on what's going on in the jail. It's very difficult for me to isolate what's truth and fiction. But one thing I have heard consistently is that inmates are not receiving their mental medication. And, a way to help people who are mentally ill not to be bad is to get medication who can help them control their behavior. And I know lately there has been a lot of requests to remove the DHS from providing the health care in a jail. I just wonder where we are on this and if you have even looked at it. And they want to go back under the sheriff. Some of the RM who work in the jail have complained that many of them have PTSD because of what's going on in the jail now. And many are fearing for their life. So I will really appreciate if you look at that more in detail, because that's a very dangerous situation. Because if you have nurses who suffer from PTSD, inmates who are not getting their drug, that's, a chemistry for a big problem. So please look at it. I will really appreciate it. Thank you.
Madam Secretary Officer?
No other speakers, Madam Chair.
Okay, so those are all the speakers.